Hello and welcome to my studio. My name is Laura and you can find me on the rest of the internet as I Heart You. I hope you had a nice relaxing holiday and Happy New Year. Welcome to 2024. I hope it's been treating you good so far. I had a pretty relaxing holiday. I still had to do some work, but managed to have some good downtime in between and was able to work on some crafting projects. So that was really fun. I have like a couple different like disciplines of crafts to show you today. I did a little bit of quilting and some cross stitch, as well as some knitting. And as well, since we're in the new year and we have a fresh start here, I did decide to let go of a couple projects. So I'm going to be frogging those and I can show you those as well. So if you caught my last video, I was talking a lot about my socks. I was going through my box back here where I keep kind of knits that I'm not ready to wear or things that I might give away. And there were a lot of hand knit socks in there. And it was kind of overwhelming and kind of funny to film. I don't know if you picked up on that, but there is like that little bit of kind of like why why did I knit all those socks? But then over the holidays I had a good think about it and I realized I just love knitting socks. They're very relaxing for me and mindless. I have a good stash of sock yarn. If you're like a newer viewer, you might not know I live on an island, so it's not like I can just run off to the craft store and grab something. So I have a nice stash of sock yarn, and so when inspiration hits, I usually just dig through there. And I decided that I'm okay with that. I did go through my socks. I got rid of some out of my like actual socks that I'm wearing, and then I put some new ones in rotation, and I've been wearing those and really enjoying having like new fun pairs of socks to wear. And then a lot of them I've just put aside to be donated. Found a women's shelter in Victoria, which is close to me, so I think that would be a good place to donate it. It's cold right now, and I have lots of knit things, and I also went through my clothing. Anyway, so I'm going to donate all of that. So anyways, going back to the socks, I realized I'm just going to keep knitting socks because I like knitting them, and I'm just going to be okay with that. I did have a great suggestion from a viewer who said that they just essentially knit tubes of sock yarn. So rather than putting in like a heel and toe, they just will like make a tube, and then later on they will decide who they want to give that pair of socks to, and then they can go back and do an afterthought heel and just cut into whatever size foot that they want. So you're almost creating like custom socks on the fly with the tubes that you've done in the past. So I think that's a really cool idea, and I'd like to do that in the future because I've actually never done an afterthought heel. Sorry, I should have looked up your name before I started, but the commenter was asking how I felt about afterthought heels, and I had to admit that I've never done one before, which seems really weird, I'm sure, considering how many socks I knit. But here we are. So I might do that next. Anyways, yeah, so I realized that socks are like a comfort knit for me, and I'm just going to be okay with that. So I did start a new pair of socks over the holidays. This is the finished one, and then I have another one started. I just love the colors. It's like a what do you call it? Valentine's inspired colorway. It's called Hello Sweetheart. And the dyer is Freckled Whimsy yarns. So lots of gray in it, but then also lots of fun colors and speckles. And then I found this gray that almost matches for the heel, and I think that's working okay. It's like this workhorse yarn that I've had forever, and it shows up in a lot of heels and toes because I think it'll wear pretty well. So I started those, and again, just really enjoyed knitting them, and don't want to kind of hold on to that sort of guilt that I had with making things without kind of a point. But this is supposed to be fun, and I can always find a place to pass along knits if I need to. It's just more about like reframing what I want to do with them after they're done, instead of just making everything for me, I guess. Anyways, so this is the second sock. I've just done a little bit of ribbing here, and I just coordinated the ribbing to go with the stripes. So once the purple ended, I started doing the stockinette. I find that works nicely for self-striping yarns. You can just kind of use the stripes to decide where you want to change from heel to foot and all that. And you can see that I split the pink stripe down the middle when I did the Fish Lips Kiss heel here. So yeah, I'm really enjoying them. I don't really have a plan for them to get into my wardrobe or anything. Those aren't actually even really my colors, but like I said, I'm just trying to reframe, and this is supposed to be an enjoyable hobby, and I could always find a place for something to go afterwards. And then I also had a chance to just look and decide that there's a few things that I'm just ready to not work on anymore. This you probably saw a while back. These, I think I toyed around with frogging them once before. These are like, it's really beautiful yarn. It's tweed yarn. It's dyed by the Fawn and the Fox yarns, who doesn't dye anymore. This is the ball, and it's really pretty. But that was something I noticed going through my the socks that I wasn't wearing, as well as going through my own stash of yarns, is I have a lot of this like kind of purpley pink and blue, and this just isn't really like my colors anymore. So I think, like, for now these are just gonna get frogs, so we're just gonna pull these needles out, and I might get rid of this yarn. I might keep it and knit something else, you know, for someone else who might like these colors better than me. But for now, it's frogged, and I'm just going to wind this up as we talk here. So over the holidays, I also went through my craft room. I went through a lot of my yarn, and I just kind of reprioritized things a little bit. I had sold a little bit of stock yarn. I had gone through and pulled, I don't know, maybe like 5 or 10 skeins, and sold those just on my local Facebook marketplace. And yeah, I did that again. I have a pretty good handle, I think, now on my stash, which feels pretty good. And just, like I said, really tried to do the same thing that I was doing with my knitting projects, and really like prioritize, you know, do I like this? Do I want to keep working on it? Can I see myself or someone using it? Like that sort of thing. And a lot of this yarn, I just, you know, I'm not interested in knitting it anymore. It was either for a project that might change my mind on, or, you know, sometimes you buy colors online and they're not quite the right colors, or, you know, like, things change. I've been knitting for a really long time, and I think it's important to go through your stash realistically every now and again, and just like, are you really going to knit this? Because it can be really easy to, you know, we all get excited about something and then buy the yarn for it or buy the supplies, and then maybe something changes, or maybe it doesn't work out, or maybe you just lose enthusiasm. And I think sometimes we can put a lot of pressure on ourselves as, like, you know, that being a failure, that you were excited about knitting a sweater 5 years ago and you never knit it, and that means that you're, you know, failing. And I really am trying to look at that in a different way, because that's just human nature. You know, things change, and our interests change, and our styles change, and the colors that we gravitate to changes over time. And that doesn't mean, that's nothing bad. Growth is a good thing, right? Like, we're that's what we're all here on the earth to be doing, right? Is growing and trying to be the best people that we can. So I think being realistic is part of that. So yeah, I actually got rid of a bunch of sock yarn again, like maybe like 10 skeins or so, and I just consolidated a bit. The big thing that I had to do was go through my hand spun yarn, because maybe about, say, between 5 and 10 years ago, I was spinning a lot of yarn, and I wasn't really knitting a lot with it. Like, I did some, but I just ended up accumulating a ton of it. So I went through that, and I got it down to one small bin from like one huge bin. I probably cut that down by like a third. So that felt really good too. Again, just trying to be realistic and picking the yarn that like I really, really loved, and then trying to kind of let go of the rest. And I think I'll try and sell some of it on my local marketplace. It might end up on, every time I look down, my camera loses my face and changes lighting. Okay, hopefully that's better. Lighting can be a little bit of a struggle for me because the sun like climbs around this room in the afternoons. I kind of lost my train of thought and I'm almost done ripping this sock out, but yeah, my whole point being I did this with my clothing, I did this with my yarn and some of my fabric and things. Just go through, and if you're feeling really weighed down by some of your stash or some of the things that have accumulated in your life, you know, it feels really good sometimes to go and kind of have an honest conversation with yourself and the things you own, and just decide, you know, am I holding on to this for the right reasons or for the wrong reasons? So that's kind of what's been going on in my life for the new year. We live in a really small house too, so this is something that I do all the time. I actually enjoy that we have a small space because it kind of forces me to organize things. There's just not a lot of space for extra, so this tends to happen after Christmas. My birthday's on Boxing Day as well, so I end up getting like, you know, because I'm very lucky, I get some gifts from people and then I end up having to kind of find a place to put those, and that creates this whole thing where I'm prioritizing what I actually want because I have new things to put away. So yeah. The other thing I'm going to take apart, this is in one of my medium project bags. You can see it's a Christmas themed project bag. I'm going to rip these socks out. I can't remember if I showed you these or not. They are dyed by Leo and Roxy Yarn Co. This was like a Christmas colorway, like a mystery yarn colorway. And I was trying to avoid this pooling, and I've not been successful in that. Tried a few different things and I'm just not loving the way they look. You see how there's really heavy pooling and then kind of blank spaces. So I did try and like stagger the yarn and like alternate pulling from one side of the ball and the other. You know, I'm currently carrying a yarn up here trying to do that, and it's not working for me, and so I'm going to pull these out. I think maybe this is just not the ideal colorway for what I want to do, which is socks. I think that this would probably work a lot better on like a hat or something like that, just because the repeats aren't working very well. So yeah, so these are getting ripped out too, and this is just going to be such a mess to rewind because I have 2 strands of yarn here, and I think they twist around each other at every change, every 2 rows. So yeah, this is going to be a fun one to do. Feels really good, actually. You know, that moment where you've actually decided that you're just done with something, and then you kind of make that first step towards pulling something apart or admitting something's not working. Anyways, I love that feeling. So yeah, so these are gonna go away and then we'll see how inspired I am for other things knitting wise this year. I do have some knitting plans, loose plans set up, but I think I might save that for another little video, maybe in a week or 2 if I get around to kind of prioritizing. I did go through my Ravelry page the other night and went through my favorites and my queue and just reprioritized as well and decided what I would still like to work on. I have some Jessie May like tank tops and stuff favorited. Anyways, I'm not gonna tell you all that right now. And then I did not work on my halibut sweater at all. I really want to get that back out. I just didn't really have the urge. I have a shawl that is in this project bag up here that needs some love, hasn't been touched in a long time, so that is going to stay on the WIP list and get worked on. My halibut sweater is in this project bag here. That's definitely going to get worked on because I love it. I just haven't really been wanting to work on it, but you know, I think part of it is it's just gotten cold here, so I'm starting to actually want to wear my woolly things. Okay, that is done, and I have a lot of yarn spaghetti to deal with once I'm finished recording here. So the other thing I worked on and finished the other day is I knit these mittens out of my hand spun, and I just saw them, and I think I tried to knit a hat out of it, and again the gauge, the stripes just weren't working, the colors, so this worked really well. So these are like chunky mittens. I just used 5mm needles. This is like probably like worsted to bulky. It's sort of thick and thin, so it can be hard to decide what like what weight your hand spun is, but that was my guess. It worked out okay. And then I used this book, which is the Knitter's Handy Book of Patterns. This is a book by Ann Budd that I've had forever. Probably one of the first things that I got, and you can see it's like, that's what they call it, basic designs in multiple sizes and gauges. So what they have in here is like a hat, mittens, a sweater, socks, a vest, you know, that sort of thing. And it's all charted so that you figure out what your gauge is, and then you figure out what size you want, and then, you know, your gauge is along the top, your size is down here, or vice versa. And then you can just plug in the numbers for whatever size you want to make. If you want to knit different sizes of socks or mittens or things like that, it's just a really simple basic design. And then say for the mittens, you could put color work on here if you wanted to. But it's just nice to have someone who's done all the math for you and written all the instructions out. So yeah, these are the mittens from this book. I did the women's small, I think, and they're like just a little bit big on me, which I have small hands, so I love the colors. I love how it turned out. I haven't been blocked yet, and I might actually redo this thumb because just the yarn that I used to knit the thumb was a little thinner in my spinning. You can see this thumb's a little fatter and matches the mitten a little better, where this one's dipping in. So I might actually just quickly rip this thumb out and redo it because it won't take very long. And yeah, I think that's all I have to say about that. I think it was like a Freckled yarn. I spun this a long time ago, and I just ended up kind of like picking the yarns, like picking where I started the mittens and trying to keep them sort of the same. They're not perfect, but the stripes kind of match. So that's pretty good for hand spun, I think. Yeah, those were really fun and just like a nice simple project, you know. The other thing I started before Christmas and I've worked on a little bit is I have this many granny squares for a blanket. When I was going through all my yarn, I pulled all my scrap yarn in these colors, so the grays and the browns and the kind of mustard yellows, a lot of neutrals, and I just took them and dumped them all in this bin. And I'm just pulling randomly from here and making granny squares. So I'm just using a, what size is this? A 5mm crochet hook. I just got these Ergo ones off of Amazon. I've been using my grandmother's crochet hooks all these years because I don't crochet very much, and I wanted something with a thicker handle. The one I was using before, when I switched to the Ergos, I had to go down a crochet hook size to get the right size of square. But yeah, I'm happy with how these look, and it's just going to be a very long-term project. I'm hoping to work on this over the winter, but it's very enjoyable, and you're just kind of picking and choosing yarns as you go, and I'm also joining them as I go, so hopefully watching the blanket get bigger will continue to motivate me. So yeah, that's it for knitting content. but I did do a little bit of other crafty things, so I just wanted to show you those as well. I did just two Christmas ornaments for the tree this year, little cross-stitch ornaments. So we've got a little gingerbread house with like a little steam coming out of the chimney, and then just this really cute ornament that I did in sort of like vintage holiday colors. I really love the kind of vintage holiday colors with like the teals and the blues and that kind of like dusty pink and red. Not so much the like forest green. Anyways, I have a lot of fun doing these. I will link the pattern that I used below, because what I did is I bought like a pattern for like a big advent calendar type thing that would go on the wall, and I just am making ornaments out of each day on the advent calendar instead of doing a full advent calendar. And they fit perfectly in these little 3-inch hoops. You know, you can buy a dozen of these online for a pretty good price. There's an Etsy shop called Millions of Stitches that I've ordered from before. They have good prices and a really good selection of crafting, like cross-stitching and embroidery stuff if you're looking for it. And they're not very well finished, but I wasn't really too concerned about that. I just cut out a little circle of felt and stuck them on the back. So yeah, I have quite a few of these now. I think I have maybe like 8 or 10 of them now that go on the tree, and I just stick them on the branch. You could tie a little something on there, but they only take an evening or two to make, and they make really nice gifts too. People really like them. So that was really fun. I do love a little precise cross-stitch project every now and again. And then I also finished a really quick and easy quilt. Here, let's just back up here so you can see it. So here you go. So this was a panel that was all printed. It was by Ruby Star Society. These are all Melody Miller prints. You can see there's lots of like retro prints on there, like retro roller skates and telephones, and you know, some cameo prints, and it's just so fun. So what I ended up doing was just cutting that whole panel apart and then laying it out how I wanted to. I think I pulled 4 pieces out and made this just like a big 6x6 quilt. So it's not huge, but I'm really happy with how it turned out. I did like a pink binding. It has like some little speckles of stars and circles on there. And then on the back is another Ruby Star. This is their wide back fabric. And yeah, it has just like moons and stars and things. Really simple quilting, just like wavy line quilting. I just do this myself on my machine. It's nothing fancy, but you know, it works. And then just a little label on the back. I just wrote the year. I don't have very good writing, but I just wrote the year as neatly as I could and then stitched over it. And yeah, so it's not huge. I think it's like 48 inches square, but I'm really happy with it. I have a couple quilt projects planned as well that I'd like to do. Some of the first quilts I've made are so well loved that they're just falling apart. The binding is just disintegrating, and it's time to kind of replace those and then turn the old ones into dog blankets or something like that, because when I look at them, they look pretty rough. So yeah, I think that's it for all my crafty stuff. I don't know if you're all interested in like other crafts. I assume you are. Like most people do other disciplines of crafts. You don't just stick with one. So I think this year I'm going to be doing a little bit more quilting. I'd like to get back into that. So hopefully you're excited to see that. And I do want to keep adding up to my wall of embroidery here. I put a few new things up on the embroidery wall over the holidays, and they're just really fun to have. So I hope you enjoyed checking out what I've been doing. I hope you are having fun yourselves with your crafts. Let me know what you're working on. Did you start something new in the new year for 2024, or are you plugging away at something that you're really excited to get finished? And yeah, let me know if you have plans for your crafting this year, and if you're interested in seeing that video where I kind of go through, it'll be more chatty, just talking about my plans for what I'd like to knit in 2024, just like rough goals, yeah, so I think that's it for me. I hope you are having a great day, and we will talk to you again soon.